Hi everyone and welcome to Protocol 36. And as we all know by now, the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer is finally out. Let's break it down. Before we get started though, if at any point you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate if you could drop a like, as that would really help out the channel. Man, it feels good to be saying that. But anyways, let's get into this. So at first we see Miles' mother Rio approaching Miles, making sure that he's okay. While Miles is on the rooftop just looking at the sea. She goes on to say how it's hard to see her son becoming from a little boy to a little man. And she makes him promise that no matter what, that he will take care of that little boy inside him. And I think it's going to be very important for this film, especially for Miles' character arc and what it could potentially be. As we see Miles' journey into the Spider-Verse and everything he's been through becoming Spider-Man in his universe after his Peter Parker died. However, when we finally see Miles in the present day, we obviously see him in the brand new suit and saving civilians from an upcoming taxi. Now this could probably be an accident or a very strong villain may have actually thrown it, which as we see will lead to Miles using his webbing to save everyone. But I think this will most likely take place in the beginning of the film, where we basically catch up with Miles, getting used to his life as Spider-Man, if you will. Hilariously, we also see Miles take a hot dog from a random guy and webs him a $20 note. Even though I've never been to America, I know for a fact that $20 is basically too expensive for a hot dog. But as Into the Spider-Verse has shown, Miles' universe is pretty damn expensive, at least according to the restaurant both him and Peter B. Parker went to in Into the Spider-Verse. But hey, at least he paid him, so there's that. There's one shot where Miles is walking away from his parents and there are a bunch of people around him, probably some type of party or gathering, probably even got to do with his family or something like that. But it seems that Miles and his parents got into a little argument, at least from the looks of things. This shot I believe was also in the Empire magazine, and I think it makes sense if this shot takes place before Rio goes up to Miles like we see at the beginning of the trailer, just to make sure that her son is okay. And of course after all that we will have the main plot of the film, where as we see later Gwen will come and basically go around the multiverse with Miles. If you guys also remember, this was also in the first look which was released last year, where we basically saw an entire scene of Miles and Gwen basically catching up, with some minor differences like Miles wearing a Brooklyn jersey as well as Gwen wearing a cardigan. And then while we see Miles traveling across the multiverse, we also see Miles and Gwen looking at multiple different Spider-Man and women from different universes. Some of them you can easily identify, like Lady Spider, which is a version of Aunt May who becomes Spider-Man, Spider-Cut, which was obviously the gag in Spider-Man PS4. Speaking of Spider-Man PS4, we also see Insomniac Spider-Man, which is awesome to see, as well as a version of Spider-Man in the Arachnoman costume, which is one of the alternate costumes in the Ultimate Spider-Man video game. It's not really an important costume, it's basically a gag, but still it's pretty cool that they put it in. Mangaverse Spider-Man also appears too. We see him clearly later on in the trailer, but it's also really cool that they also added him in. As you remember, Mangaverse Spider-Man is famously in Spider-Man PS4 as one of the alternate suits you're able to use. And we also get a clear look of the bombastic Bagman. In the 616 universe, after the Fantastic Four helped him get the Venom symbiote off him, he didn't really have anything to wear, so he used the Fantastic Four suit as well as a paper bag in order to protect his identity. Obviously that suit also made it to Spider-Man PS4 too, and ever since then it was loved by fans as a gag. One a lot of people identified, which was Mary Jane and Annie Mae Parker from the Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, which is basically an alternate reality where Peter and MJ's marriage did actually continue and they were able to have a daughter together, which is really awesome to see, to be honest. And speaking of Peter Parker becoming a father, we see Peter B. Parker from the first film, and it looks like he has a baby carrier. Now it has been confirmed by the filmmakers that after the events of Into the Spider-Verse, Peter and his Mary Jane does have a daughter, Mayday Parker, and she's very young right now and it looks very much like Mary Jane. In fact, this version has heterochromia, which is basically when a person has two different eye colors, and one of them she has blue like Mary Jane's and the other brown, which obviously is Peter's, which I thought was really cool. As we know, Mayday Parker in the comics did eventually grow up and become Spider-Girl after Peter Parker retired because he lost a leg against the Green Goblin and just wanted to be there for his daughter and wife. I'm really happy that we got a version of Peter who is a father and is very much in a happy relationship with Mary Jane. We also have a shot of Miles and Gwen basically sitting next to each other and Gwen leaning in. After the first film, basically Miles kind of friend-zoned her, so in this one maybe there's a potential romance between them, but we just have to wait and see. And then we get our first look of Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, who in this version is in fact black, probably taking some inspiration as well from the first Spider-Woman from the Electric Company, and she'll be played by Issa Rae. And we see her using her webbing against a version of the Vulture and basically using her back against him, which looks brutal, but I love it. And it looks like she'll be teaming up with Miguel too. So from the looks of things, after the post-credit scene in Into the Spider Spider-Verse, it looks like Miguel has been going around different universes to hire different Spider-Man. Most likely because he knows that there's a massive threat coming and he wants every version of Spider-Man to basically team up against that threat. Even though we haven't seen the spot yet in this trailer, I don't know if it will be him specifically, but because of the plot of this film, it most likely is. Unless they're also setting up for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is what the third one will be called. So at the moment, it could literally be anything. We also have a shot where Miguel is basically looking at a recording of him and most likely his child. It looks like this version of Miguel did in fact have a daughter, probably died or is missing from the way he's looking at the video. Miguel does have a son in the comics, most recently in Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man in 2019, but obviously that comic came out during the development of this movie, so I don't think there's a correlation there. I think the film just wanted Miguel to have kids, or a kid in this case. I just wanted to make us, the audience, understand where he's coming from. It's even possible that maybe he wants to capture the spot and use him to find his daughter, but then again, it would be very similar to Kingpin's motivation in the first film, so maybe I'm way off. But until we get more, we just have to wait and see. I would love to know what your thoughts are on this though. And here we also see Miguel showing Miles, Gordon, and Peter potentially the web of life and destiny, at least a hologram version of it. We did see it in Into the Spider-Verse towards the ending of the film, but I think in this case Miguel will basically show the multiverse and each Spider-Man that contains them, and why it was very important for him to gather all these spider people for this massive war, if you will. And here we have a massive spider fight going around where every version of Spider-Man is basically jumping at Miles. As to why they're attacking him, we do have an idea from the synopsis that they will be handling a new threat, that all of those spider people that we see are in charge of protecting reality itself, and that the heroes are clashing on how to handle the new threat, and Miles will find himself pitted against the other spiders. So what's happening here is probably a difference in opinion. Probably the opinion that Miles has is way too risky for the others to just follow, but obviously I think there will be more to it than that, because if it was just a difference in opinion, I feel like they would have talked it out, but there's definitely something that's way more serious that's going on that would make them attack another version of Spider-Man. If I'm being honest, we'll probably find out a little bit more once the second trailer is out, so maybe around March to April, since this movie is coming out in June. But the spider people we do see is pretty wild. Most of them do have original designs, but some of them are pretty damn wild. For example, a shot of Superior Spider-Man in the left hand corner being one of the many spider people to try and web Miles. We also see a Spider-Man wearing the spider armor from the comics, as well as from the 90s show and from Spider-Man PS4. And I believe we also see a Spider-Man wearing the Ends of Earth suit as well, at least from what I can tell. And in some Spider-Man also makes another cameo just when Miles and the other Spider-Man are falling down. On the left hand side, we also see a red and black, if not navy Spider-Man, which could either be Kane Parker, another version of Scarlet Spider, who's another clone of Peter Parker, or another version of Peter Parker who's wearing the electro-proof suit. We also have Bulletproof Spider-Man 2, which I believe we also saw in the beginning of the trailer, but also makes another cameo here, as well as one of the Spider-Man that looks like to be wearing the Iron Spider suit, though I could 100% be wrong. But one of the Spider-Man that's also running is the Neversoft PS1 Spider-Man, and the way he looks is almost exactly like he does in the actual game, which is actually phenomenal. The fact that they put him in as well is pretty wild, and I'm not complaining at all. There's a version of Spider-Man that's running towards Miles and tries to grab him that has a jacket and the hair is exposed. I believe that might be Flash Thompson as Spider-Man. I could 100% be wrong, but in the comics there has been a version of Flash Thompson where he did become Spider-Man and his hair was exposed. I believe his name was Captain Spider, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if there's a version of Flash Thompson as Spider-Man. Also, one of the variants kinda looks like a white version of the symbiotes in Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which is really interesting. At first I thought it was the Future Foundation suit or even Anti-Venom, but it looks like it's one of the white symbiotes you fight in Web of Shadows, which is pretty wild. I feel like they put literally anything in there, and if that's just across the Spider-Verse alone, I don't even want to try and imagine what Beyond the Spider-Verse is gonna have. But we also have Miguel running towards Miles, who's basically on this machine, and at the top there looks like to be a mechanical spider, basically covering this cocoon around him, most most likely sending him to another universe, and Miguel tries to catch up to him as quickly as he can, which will most likely lead towards their multiversal fight, which we saw a bit of in the first look trailer last year, as well as what we're gonna see a little bit in this one. So as Miles is getting jumped, we also see a little bit more of other Spider-Man too, as well as some recurring ones, like the bombastic Batman, as well as the Mangaverse Spider-Man. And I believe one of the other ones we also see is Ben Reilly, if I'm not mistaken. At least it looks a lot like him. But one of the biggest, if not the biggest one, is Spider-Man Unlimited. If you know who that version is, it's basically another Spider-Man show in the 90s. After the 90s anime series came out, it's not canon to it whatsoever, but it's basically Peter Parker going to space in order to find and save John Jameson while wearing a brand new nanotech suit, which we see in that trailer. And he looks absolutely amazing, straight from the shirt too, which is brilliant. And here we also have Gwen basically saying we're supposed to be a good guy, while Miguel basically replying we are, slamming Miles to the ground. And that basically ends the trailer. This movie is gonna be insane, and I really cannot wait. This first trailer is so damn good, and I think there's so much more to it as well. I'm gonna make another video soon basically listing every version of Spider-Man and woman that has been confirmed for this film, so stay tuned for that. But what about you guys? What did you think of the trailer? And were you able to find anything that I wasn't able to find too, or even something nobody's been able to find? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and want more, subscribe. To begin, Protocol 36.